listeners. For today, in terms of weather this morning, it will remain cloudy over the 60 region with rain and thunder around the Kwame Danso area. We have a patchy of rain over those areas. Karachi currently having some rain. We expect it to continue. For Greater Accra Central region and part of Western region into Bono, East Bono, West, and then Bono, and then Ahafo area, we are expecting some light rain or drizzle this morning. By afternoon, we expect the sun to break through briefly, and then giving us some warm in the afternoon. That will take temperatures up to 28, 30 for most parts of the southern sector, 29, 31 for the northern sector. The state of the sea is expected to be rough. We are expecting cloudy weather over the sea too. And then by evening, we expect the cloudiness to resurface. That will bring in some light rain or drizzle over places. But the northern sector, we are expecting a localized formation of rain and thundercloud, which is likely to affect those in the upper east region, part of the upper west, and then the savannah region. So for today, this is how we are anticipating it to be like.
All right, Felicity, thank you so much for that update. Of course, we'll be keeping an eye out on the further updates.
Thank you, too, for always connecting to GMA to get the forecast across to your audience. We are very, very grateful.
As are we. Thank you so much, Felicity, and have an amazing Monday. As I said, it's an energetic start to the week. You're very warmly welcome to 3FM Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Very shortly, we'll be getting into what the dailies have in store for us. We'll take a look at the front pages and take a few key issues to dissect. There's a lot for you and I to sink our teeth into this morning, so do get comfortable. Again, this is 3FM Sunrise. Again, good morning to you both, Crosby and Olemesedu in the studio with me. How are we feeling? How was the weekend?
Perfect by grace.
Crosby, how was your weekend?
It's normal.
What do aspiring vice presidents do over the weekend to unwind and relax?
I write it in my book.
All right, we'll be proud to say that we used to work with Crosby when he's finally vice president of the Republic of Ghana. A little flavor, though, of what to expect this morning. And, of course, congratulations are very much in order. We'll be delving into Kwesi Asare's story as the show continues this morning. Congrats to him for being the proud winner of the 2023 BBC News Komla Dumont Award. And if you drive into the premises this morning, we have a huge poster to celebrate our colleague.
He's a big man.
He's a big man. He's a big man. He's a very, very big man.
Okay, congratulations.
Congratulations. It's not easy at all. But no, you want to be vice president, Crosby. Let's stick on that one.
So we'll be like him and then we'll become vice president.
Vice president. How is Dr. Akoto's campaign going?
Yeah, it's very fine. It's
going good. Okay. You know, of course, they are inching closer to D-Day, at least.
Yeah.
To whittle down to, 5 candidates. It's coming up on the 20...
I think 5 days.
5 days.
In 5 days.
5 days
time.
for the top 5.
5 days for the top 5. So, of course, we'll be zooming into how the campaign is going. And that's why we're asking Crosby about an update, or for an update. For what's going on in
How's
that
Dr. Baumia's campaign going?
Well, if you join us for the rest of the show, you'll get a breakdown on how the candidates are faring. We'll play back some sounds for you as well. Ghana's strongest winner will also be joining us on the show, Godfred Akobila. And I mean, some of the things these guys are carrying, and hey.
Akobila's story is that of determination.
This was his 5th or 6th attempt?
A lot of attempts.
A lot of attempts to finally come out.
Be the
tops.
winner of the competition. I think he deserves some applause. A lot of it, not because he won, but because of the journey he traveled. I mean, he came, he's not able to win, he goes back, he comes again a number of times, and then finally he gets it. I think it's very motivating. Don't give up.
Oh, so next year, Crosby will be there, Ghana's strongest vice president. Okay, we digress. Let's get stuck into the papers. We'll run through the headlines and then take some details. I've got the Ghanaian Times and the Finder newspaper this morning. The Ghanaian Times has this to say: submission of development agenda by MDAs. No plan, no budget, NDPC warns. Minister launches $14.3 million US aid project to improve access to quality education. You've got Minister of Education on the front page there. Foreign Ministry designates hotlines email to receive extortion complaints and be guided by truth and honesty. I'll tell you who's saying that. It's in the center spread. Also, soldier fires himself to death in freak accident. Ghana Armed Forces begins investigation. The Finder newspaper this morning put pressure on junta in Niger to comply with diplomacy. Opong Nkrumah, he's pictured here, and he's speaking on what is going on in Niger. Dr. Bawumia is a unifying force for Muslims and Christians. Press B moderator also speaking there. OSP makes strikes. I don't know if they meant strides or strikes. Well,
strides.
Okay, so find a newspaper. Use a small OSP
they call
makes
it the Printer's Devil.
Printer's Devil.
Yes.
Okay, well, you might want to have a look at that. OSP makes strides under Kisi Ejibing. 186 killed in July road crashes, an increase of 30%, and that's quite worrying. We saw the numbers dip as of last year, although they had steadily increased from 2020 and 2021. Hearing that it's going up again is quite worrying. What is also quite worrying with these stats is that motorcycle crashes continue to account for more than 40% of our deaths on the road, and that's something we cannot continue to ignore. That figure has not gone down since 2020. Law students should be current, strategic, and adaptive. Nanadra Hackman speaking there. Gentlemen.
On the front page of the BNFT, it says negative perception still hitting TVET. The story is on page 3 of the paper. There's also future of agriculture, food security is youth-led. That's coming from KIC. Trade vulnerability prompts urgent African Continental Free Trade Agreement utilization, page 2 of the paper. And in agriculture, study reveals disappointing 20.13% women participating in planting for food and jobs, and the PFAG is demanding more in the inclusion in phase 2 of the project. So there's some features on the GMO debate, organic versus conventional agriculture in Africa. There's also another one on unveiling perceptions, a visual exploration of socio-political realities using Afrobarometer data.
And on the front page of the Daily Guide this morning, Nana gives 2.5 million Ghana cedis to young entrepreneurs, and for me that's an excellent piece of news. Bawumia is religious unifier according to the Presby moderator, and strive for excellence, law students told. On the back page of the Daily Guide this morning, Spain lifts first Women World Cup. That's it for the Daily Guide.
All right, well, let's start off this one. This also captured on the front page of the Finder newspaper. Can government pay first 2 billion Ghana cedis coupons on new bonds which will mature tomorrow? So approximately 85% of bondholders participated in the Domestic Debt Exchange Program, DDEP, yielding some 82.9 billion cedis. With a 5% cash coupon rate for 2023, it is estimated that the coupon obligation on the new bonds will amount to some 2 billion cedis in August. Samuel Ofori Amanfo, an economist, says investors are on edge as the looming August 22nd deadline for the Treasury's August 2023 coupon obligation approaches. According to him, investors are on edge because concerns about the delays in servicing old bonds in the past, which were left untouched during the DDEP. So another round of payments have to be made tomorrow, August 22nd. But given what we've seen with the Domestic Debt Exchange Program and the delays as far as coupons are concerned, I think this trepidation is in the right vein. I'm not surprised that we're questioning whether or not government can pay that 2 billion. I don't even know which parts DDEP we are on now. I know that we were expecting DDEP Part 2. Has that taken off? I'm not entirely too sure.
I think the conversation is still on, but I doubt if government can pay.
This is the 2 billion that is due tomorrow.
Yeah, because I mean, they are still on the market raising money through treasury bills, and I don't know. I mean, if cuts spending, is it about 20 billion per the media review?
I see.
But still, I don't know. So because of the way they've handled issues around this DDP over the period, we expect them to say what they are going to do as promised, they always fail. So I'm just giving them the benefit of the doubt. But as a city, I don't think that payment is going to be done.
Well, tomorrow, of course, we keep our eye out on that one. Can government pay that first 2 billion? The Finder newspaper on page 2 breaks it down as to what constitutes the 2 billion. So 290 million cedis coupons on unredeemed old bonds, 1.8 billion cedis principal and coupon obligations, and so on and so forth. It's captured there. And also there's a paragraph dedicated to the banks. Banks lost 14.81 billion in 2022 collectively. So it's not looking great on the financial front. But again, tomorrow we keep our eye out on what is going on as far as the DDEP is concerned. Niger also very much high up on the radar. Some of you have been asking to hear from Kojo Nkrumah. Cosby, have you been hearing from him much lately?
I see him in the papers sometimes. So he attends an event and then he says a few things and then they carry it to the papers and we see his picture and all of that. But for his proper role as information minister, I think maybe he's doing it in a different way. It's not only for him to keep engaging the public. I'm sure there are other areas of his job description that maybe he's focusing on now.
Right, and that's fair.
Yes, that's fair. But I mean, it's fair for government, but maybe not for the citizenry.
What do you think the citizenry really would want to hear from Kojo Nkrumah? Because we say it all the time, we want to hear him speak. What do you think Ghanaians want to hear?
At the moment,
yes, at the moment.
Amongst the things we want to hear is how much Ghana is contributing to the troops going to ECOWAS.
Oh, well, I think the ministry has spoken to that. I read somewhere, the deputy minister,
Fatimatu Abubakar,
said it was based on Ghana's capacity, financial capacity. We are not throwing out any figures now.
Sure.
So when the bill comes up.
We want to know now.
The bill hasn't come up. The bill for the intervention or the exercise hasn't come up. So the suggestion, as I understand it, is that when the bill comes up, Ghana's contribution will be based on our financial capacity.
I see.
So for them to give us any numbers or figures now will be based on what ECOWAS throws out as the funding they would need for the exercise. That's what I read from the deputy minister.
So Helen, if the funding will be based on what we have, then there's no need to wait for what ECOWAS will say we should. ECOWAS will say it needs. We understand. If ECOWAS needs hundreds of dollars, and then we, even before ECOWAS said it, we have one city. then we should be able to say that it is one city we have. So whether you come, you say you need how much, it is just one city we have. So it is one city we'll take for you.
I mean, for financial planning, you need to have a certain figure before you decide what you can. Because if Ghana is here, they are going to give $3 billion. And that's all what ECOWAS is asking for. I mean, then, so they are just saying that, look, ECOWAS, bring out the numbers, and then we'll make our contributions based on our financial capacity.
Okay.
Still on Niger, the junta is saying that they are going to be handing over in 3 years.
Yes.
And I wonder if ECOWAS is going to be listening to this kind of thing, because we've heard it before. Some people come in, they say they are going to hand over in a year, 2, they stay for 10 years, then they metamorphose into civilian administration, and then throughout the constitution, they turn things around. And the economic indicators on the ground usually don't show that these interventions turn anything around.
That's right.
I mean, look at West Africa. We've been through coups since the 1960s. And if you look at the development in North Africa and West Africa, you can see that we are struggling.
That's right.
In terms of development. So I don't know how the discussions are going to go, but now at least they've opened up to the delegation from ECOWAS, if I read right. Yes. So hopefully, I don't know how ECOWAS is going to respond to this 3 years thing that they are talking about, but hopefully they should just give the people of Niger the opportunity to choose their own leaders. Because if we also encourage these coup d'etats, they just destabilize the sub-region. And the sub-region is already struggling from these insurgents in terms of this, how do you call them?
Terrorists,
especially in the Sahel region. And this is where the problem is. If we are not lucky and Niger begins to grow splinter groups in terms of struggle for power, then we'll be having a civil war in that country. Because there are people who support the junta, there are other people who also support the former president, and there are other people who also want to now form their own group and claim power. So then you begin to see groups forming up, and then there will be a problem. And this is where the terrorists will come in and then do what they are doing. Already, they were struggling with that kind of thing before this coup. So,
and I agree with that. I've seen a lot of what I would describe as jabs on social media. So people looking to the members of the ECOWAS chair, that's the president of Nigeria, and citing reasons for which, they cannot, lead the charge when things are not good at home. Is that fair? Because at this point, I've heard so many different critiques. Well, Tinubu, check your own backyard. Are you able to handle the situation on there? Right now, we have a crisis or we have an emergency. Should we park some of these critiques, or can they coexist hand in hand? As we critique, we find a solution.
I think at the moment, ECOWAS is caught between the rock and the hard place. It's a very tough decision for ECOWAS to make. I mean, there are challenges already confronting the sub-region.
That's right.
That has to do with the member state economy, their conditions of service, way of life, and all of that. And then there's this thing too happening. So do they say that let's pay attention to one and stop the other? It's a difficult decision for it to make. And at the same time, what is going on in Niger, if ECOWAS decides not to intervene militarily. Now, this is not the first coup we're having. We've had about 5 or so in the last couple of years. Dialogue has not been working.
200 since 2012, but that's on the entire continent. But in a sub-region in the Sahel, I mean, that's also very
so clearly dialogue is not working. There's the need for another form of intervention. We don't know whether that should be military-wise. The sanctions are not working either.
Well, Nkrumah says pressure. He says pressure. Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah has urged civil society organizations and the media to join in continuous efforts to encourage the Nigerian junta to comply with diplomacy in finding lasting solution to the current impasse in that country. Mr. Nkrumah said the call is important since it helps not to undermine efforts by ECOWAS on restoring Niger back to democratic rule. I want to appeal to CSOs, academia, and the media to assist continuous efforts that will urge the junta to comply with diplomacy instead of making comments that rather question ECOWAS's methods.
You know what has emboldened these military, I call them adventurists, is the way we have treated these civilian governments or presidents or heads of state who, when their terms end, they do 2-year terms. When their terms end, then they turn the constitution around just to stay in power. Some have stayed in power for so many years. So then the question these military guys are asking, what is the basis for you telling us not to take over power the way we did?
Because you are doing the same
Exactly.
thing. I think they describe it as a civil coup.
Yes, because next door, Alassane Ouattara is promising 1,000 soldiers as his country's contribution to the intervention. And I'm asking, he came in, I mean, Gbagbo was there, the election, we all saw what happened. Gbagbo was even held before the Hague and all that. But at the end of the day, he also turns around and says, I want to be in power for a third term, and he's there. And so we as West Africans should begin to look at some of these things and then look beyond the politics of things and look at how the people are also faring in terms of the economy. Because as I keep saying, in Africa, the West African economy is not doing good at all. But if we allow people to also come and muddy the waters through this tinkering with the how do you call the constitutions of the various countries, we are going to have problems.
So
because already the French countries are already tied to France and
Yeah.
all the problems they are
That's
going
right.
through. And so if we have instability on the political front, on the military front, and on the economic front, then basically we are in for nothing.
Does ECOWAS sit and allow the military handover or wait for the military to hand over in 3 years? Wouldn't that come across as ECOWAS is, a little on the weak side?
And this man is telling them.
Oh, yes.
And in response to what you said, the military junta is saying that, look, if an attack were to be undertaken against them, the junta, because ECOWAS is saying they are not going to war against Niger. They are entering to take out the junta,
That's right.
which means it's a surgical exercise. But they are saying
Surgical
that,
neutralization.
exactly. But they are saying that, look, if you attempt, it's not going to be a walk in the park. And you see people who speak like this sound as if they have nothing to lose. And the most dangerous people are those who have nothing to lose. Because any soldier who attempts a coup is ready to die. That's a fact.
That's right.
As soon as they take up arms and they want to take out the president or the government or the day, they are ready to die. So if they begin to talk like this, then it means, and he's saying that the citizens of Niger are ready to fight on their behalf. That means more blood on the ground. So it's not going to be easy for ECOWAS.
An easy
So,
decision for ECOWAS to
so I
make
think
at
the
all.
conversations that seek to examine what ECOWAS has done all these years is actually very much consistent with other conversations, because if at the root of it you can't call out governments and presidents who
Yes.
also flout the rules,
Yes, so
engage in civil coup,
When
then
somebody
you'll
wears,
be chasing
so
your
when
tail.
somebody wears suit and tie to do a coup,
Somebody uses the pen to.
yes, suit and tie to
Somebody uses a
do
gun.
to do a coup, then you are sitting down. If they pick a gun, then you are talking. I mean, that's the hypocrisy of the whole situation.
We'll be forever chasing
You know.
our tails. Well, before we park it for the news review segment and we'll make way for Accra's sharpest teeth, Mr. Hughes with the Johnny's Bites, I think I mentioned last Friday that Honorable Okujetu Ablakwa had indicated come Monday morning, 5 a.m. sharp, he had some other or a new expose in the pipeline for us to sink our teeth into. So, it was only 10 minutes late, so 10 past 5 a.m. this morning, he tweeted on his page the 222.79 million US dollar Bank of Ghana head office latest variation bombshell. He said this excludes the cost of the land. He says he calls him Miss Governor, not Governor. Miss Governor Addison's lawlessness and recklessness as confirmed in intercepted official letters. I also call Honorable Mr. Interceptor. He's always finding the documents that you and I are not privy to. He says Bank of Ghana's Governor Addison's suicidal taste for an ostentatious office which parks 3,200 cars and more. He's got a lot of documentation to share. We'll certainly be sinking our teeth into it, dissecting what he has for us so we can make heads or tails of what he's saying. As always, he starts with a very poetic preamble. He says, the wait is over. Darkness must give way to light. The conspiracy to conceal and resist accountability will always be defeated.
Yeah, what I pick from this is the way elected officers of Africa, and especially West Africa again, live like royals. I mean, that is something that we should check. Look at the number of cars our political leaders and, if you like, who the leaders of this country push around.
Right.
Where the masses, look at, you have been in the UK.
Right.
In fact, you lived in the UK. Look at their transportation system.
I've seen Boris Johnson on a bicycle before on my way to the gym.
But UK has one of the best, if not the best, transport system in the whole world. because they
But
think about the
Rasmo
people.
Barak was rode on a bicycle.
Rasmus, oh, okay.
But that one was just once. So people are seeing these things and they are angry. Anyway, I want to use this opportunity once again to congratulate my friend, my brother, my colleague, Pakwesi Asari,
Absolutely.
for the great feat. And on behalf of the newsroom, on behalf of my general manager, Mr. Utieje Michael.
Yes.
It's the English for me.
Because it's going to the BBC, so I have to make sure that my English is impeccable.
Absolutely.
PK, wherever you are, I'm grateful for all the contributions you've made, and I'm very happy. This morning, I request this song, Funny Form, from DJ Abiam.
DJ
So
Abiam
we have
is
taken
here.
it cool. So
we're
DJ
gonna find
Abiam,
a form.
Yes, you have found a form.
We're gonna
DJ
find a
Abiam,
form.
when you settle, give it to me.
We're gonna find a form. Crosby, what are your plans? We're gonna find a form. We're gonna find
So
a form
Abiam,
today.
if you are ready, find a form. Let's go.
All right, but of course, do remember that Johnny will be biting in just about 6 minutes. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Of course, also *439# today. We are giving out some serious Nokufu. Don't tell me I didn't warn you. *439#. If you don't play, you don't win. You're still here on the best breakfast show in all of the land. This is 3FM Sunrise on 3FM 92.7.